Okay, I'm going to upload another one because I feel like this is kind of a continuation of what I was saying, but this is something also that popped into my head. I think that there is a difference between how, holy shit, I'm just going to say it, how white people view and how Europeans view each other. I'm just going to put it that way. How Europeans view each other versus how individual Asian countries see another, and I'm going to focus on China in this case. I remember I was reading this guy Xiang Yu's tweets. For those that don't know, Xiang Yu is apparently he's a rapper who raps in a Mandarin, but he is a genuine Marxist-Leninist. And I was reading his tweets, and this is why I talked about the whole white folks. It's like, well, white folks benefit from imperialism here in the United States, and they, while they are not the bourgeoisie, they get crumbs and they are parasites. Anyway, to continue forward from that point, though, he was talking about his dad who was born in Korea, but he was Chinese. And so there was a plan. Once the Korean War started, he was able to go to Taiwan. And so, there was a separation between the folks who, the Chinese who had come to Taiwan beforehand, just after 1945, and the ones that came in the 1950s. And so I guess there was a struggle there, but it's like there's this idea of, I think, a respect for Chinese folks regardless, where it's like it doesn't matter wherever you are in the world, there's still a respect for, hey, you're Chinese, I got you. And I can't really speak for that. Is that the same way in the Philippines or in I don't know, in Vietnam or other countries like that? I can't really say, or even Korea. I'm not sure, but it seems like China will promote this idea. It doesn't matter where in the world you're from. If you're Chinese, you're one of us. Whereas I think in Europe, and I think that between European descendants or whatever the case may be, that feeling is not there. It's like I've seen this before. I can. This is my only anecdotal evidence, but it's like I could try to speak perfect German in front of a German, and they'll just laugh at you. They don't give a fuck if you speak. Be like, oh, natürlich gewagt, and they'll just be like, you funny American. They don't care. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with France. It's like you could speak French as well as you can, but it's like if they could tell, they don't give a fuck about you. And that's the whole thing. Is that that's the whole thing where it's like, and I've tried to talk about this more and more, and I'm trying to dig a little bit deeper here with this idea, but it's like, in general, European, apart from like real deep shit lib sort of Europeans, I think they don't believe in the idea of Europeanism. They don't believe that, oh, well, just because you live in Europe, then you're all the same. I don't think they believe that. I think it's the same thing with Slavs as well. It's like, there's a deeper issue between, it's like, but they all kind of understand one another. And there's an understanding to me that doesn't really exist in the United States, and definitely amongst white folks of the United States who, for the most part, I know that there's always, well, what about these folks or what? I know there's always the exceptions. There always will be, no matter what subject it is. There's always going to be an exception. There's always going to be an anomaly. Anyway, for the most part, though, white folks in the United States have no connection to Europe. And it's because the Europeans don't want a connection. They don't want one because I don't think it's in their mentality. Whether it's more of an individualist streak, whether it's more of a, but there's a sort of idea. I remember there's a coworker when I was at JCPenney, and she was like, people would be happy. It's like if you spoke in Spanish, they'd be like, oh, you speak Spanish, and or even if you spoke Mandarin, be like, oh, you know, ni jongo rembuso, yeah, your Chinese is good, but it's like if you like it, like I said before, is that if I spoke perfect German in front of a German guy, they wouldn't care. They'd be just like, oh, for the most part, they'd be like, oh, okay, or if you spoke with a certain accent or something like that, in France, they would just laugh at you, right? So I mean, it's one of those things where what does it really, I'm trying to dig into it more. I would love to have a European on. I would love to have a conversation on this channel with a European, of any, if you can speak English fairly well, I would love to do that. And we could discuss how Europeans see Americans, or do they see, it's like, if I asked like a Welshman or something like that, well, what do you think about, Americans of Welsh descent? You think that they're still Welshmen, or they're Americans, right? I think that I would love to have that conversation. I would, but it's like I just don't get that. I just it's one of those separations where it's like Asians, no matter how how they are seen, by Americans or whatever, it's like they'll still be. It's like if you consider yourself Chinese, then they'll claim you. I can't even speak for that. I mean, I imagine it's different in India too, but it's like, these things exist, and people have to try to understand what these things are about. You know what I mean? Like I said, that's just another rant. I know I've repeated these takes over and over, but I think it's important to talk about. I do. I think it's important to try to dig a little bit deeper and to see what that actually means. You know what I mean? Anyway, that was a shorter one. I hope y'all enjoyed that. And like I say, as always, I appreciate your comments, whether they're positive or negative. I welcome them all. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoy that. Goodbye.